I'm Morris Davis from the Crimes of War Project. I used to be the chief prosecutor at Guantanamo Bay when I was on active duty. Throughout my career, public affairs has always talked the talk and said, the media is important. We want to work with the media. It seems the problem is walking the walk. And the administration has talked about transparency and openness. They've used the state secret privilege to block the Jepson lawsuit. And with WikiLeaks, I think the interest in looking behind the curtain, you had the Uthman decision here in federal court where the judge's decision was originally published unredacted, then pulled in a redacted version that painted an entirely different picture of the case. And in the Cotter case, you had the video, the Canadian interrogation video that the Supreme Court of Canada had released that was available on the internet, yet you had a closed secret proceeding to air the video at Guantanamo, which literally met the requirements of the rules, but the rule made no sense in that case. So I guess my question is the overclassification of information and secrecy, I think is why people are so curious of what's behind the curtain. And I'm just wondering what's being done to try to avoid this overclassification of information.
That's a great question. And do you mind if we turn to Guantanamo? Because I'm perfectly happy to do that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Before we do, though, I interviewed one of the reporters who's down there right now, and this reporter said that, at least on the Cotter case, reporters are still, we still have to struggle to get basic information like court transcripts, even information like how much the Pentagon spent on mental health testimony in the Cotter case. Photos are still censored to a ridiculous degree. That's a quote. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. So.
Yeah, let me address that, and that's too bad that they're that the reporter you talked to felt that way, because we made a huge effort over the past several months to bring in reporters, bureau chiefs, lawyers, and representatives of the military commissions in order to address what I think everybody agreed were outdated ground rules of engagement between the media and the military commissions. Again, this is one of these areas where we're in a new world and there aren't precedents, particularly when you're dealing with the military commissions down there. The initial ground rules, I believe, were written in 2002, 2003, and had not been updated for a long time. And people had made those complaints that they weren't getting the documents, that their photos were being overly censored. And we felt that there were very valid issues to be dealt with. And we took the initiative and we brought the group together, including the Pentagon Press Corps. In the process, we tried to deal with both the operational aspects. I mean, we went from how do you determine what are the security risks with photos to how do you provide better toilets for the journalists who are covering this. And we believe that we covered all of these issues, and we have developed new ground rules which were developed in cooperation with the press and presented to them. I'm aware that in the process of implementing these rules that they're not going absolutely perfectly, although I've been told that it is a huge improvement over what took place earlier. I don't know why there's problems getting transcripts, but I will find out because it's part of the ground rules that transcripts and documents are to be made available. The issue with regard to overclassification was a very valid issue, and we have dealt with that with the JTF and with the commissions. Interestingly enough, I've been involved in trying to address everything, from over redaction to liquor. How can we make sure that journalists have a place to drink, and where should they have liquor? And I've spent a good deal of one of the days this past week trying to find out, where the JTF put a particular reporter's liquor, because her bureau chief, asked me, isn't this kind of, bad faith? Well, actually, no, it's not bad faith. We're trying our very best to respond in a forward-leaning way to valid issues. We did the same thing, we think, on battlefield engagement when Reuters came to us with regards to the deaths of two of their reporters in 2007.
Right.
So the intention is our intention is to work in tandem with the press in order to address these issues. I am going to find out about these particular issues because I essentially have an issue a day at Guantanamo, but it is not because there is not a willingness.
Right.
It's a lot of people to inform, and I guess I'd be interested, Elisabeth, what you would have to say, or Tony, I guess Brian's not here anymore. Each side has rights, and each side has responsibilities. We try to address issues in the context of both. That the press has rights that need to be addressed, and we intend to address them. There are also responsibilities. And I will say that virtually everyone with whom we dealt in coming up with these new ground rules on the press side acknowledged that military commissions, those at the Pentagon, have unique responsibilities and are in unique positions, are put in unique positions with regard to protection of information and with regards to the new world we face down there. I found the whole process to be not only enlightening but very encouraging, that people were recognizing it's not just a one-way street. That's the attitude with which I try to approach this job and how we deal with the press. Are we perfect? No, but it's not for lack of trying to address valid issues.
So we only have a few more minutes. Just very briefly, I know you were personally involved in the case of the Guantanamo Four, I guess it were, the 4 reporters who were reportedly booted out of Guantanamo and then allowed back in. Can you just go into that for a minute?
Sure. The actual physical image of them being booted out,
I know,
chained, and behind bars and never allowed in is probably not the right image.
Sure.
Every reporter who goes down there has to sign a statement being willing to adhere to the ground rules. They all did sign the statement. 4 of them went against the rules that they signed. I'm somebody who believes, maybe naively, that when you sign your name to a piece of paper, that it means you are signing your willingness to abide by the rules that you've given your name. They did not. There was a penalty to be imposed. It was by my staff. I backed the penalty. There was also an appeals process. That was implemented very quickly, and it went all the way up through us, and the reporters were reinstated. As a result, we all agreed to take a look at the rules, and we all did collectively. So with regards to all of the issues involved with Guantanamo, from the imposition of the penalties to the reinstatement to the revising of the rules altogether, I personally don't regret any part of it.
Sure. So who's got a question out there? Well, Al too. And is there anybody here who is not a working journalist who would like to ask a question as well? We encourage that as well. So anybody